Greetings, my friends. I am Adamu of the monadic entity of the Pleiadian civilization, speaking to you once again through my trusted scribe, Zingdad. On this occasion, I wish to share with you a discussion on the fifth of the 6 sacred steps that you can use to recreate your reality. As is my habit, I will preface this conversation by advising all those who are hearing from me for the first time, all those who do not have a clear memory of the previous parts of this conversation, to please stop here. Please view the entire Adamu Speaks video collection in sequence. Or, at the very least, please begin with the first of the 6 sacred steps, acceptance. Today's discussion of the 5th step will make little to no sense to you if you do not have a clear understanding and recollection of the preceding material. You can find the entire body of my communications through Zingdad conveniently laid out in order, together with their text transcripts on Zingdad's website. Now, with those preliminaries behind us, we can begin our discussion on the 5th and penultimate sacred step, emotion. And in case you need a reminder, the 6 sacred steps are 1. Acceptance, 2. Intention, 3. Action, 4. Visualization, 5. Emotion, and 6. Observation. I am aware that, as I have discussed each sacred step, I've told you just how crucial that step is to the success of the creation of your reality. And it is so that each step is truly vital, but it is emotion that is the true engine room of your reality creation. One could render the word emotion as e-motion, since in the spiritual realms, emotion is the E for energy that powers the motion. Spiritually, emotion is the driving force behind all reality creation. Indeed, for the great creator beings that spin entire realities into being, including this separation reality which contains this entire universe, reality creation is just a 2-step process. First think it, then feel it. That's it. Such beings literally focus their thoughts and empower their creations, and then there it is, created. Believe it or not, that is how realities beyond number have been spun out. These magnificent, godlike entities begin by imagining the reality they would like to experience. Then, thinking on the details, they begin to feel all of the appropriate emotions that go with those details. Perhaps a mixture of excitement and joy and love. And as they feel those emotions, so their imaginings come into being and are made manifest. Perhaps it might surprise you to hear that all the stuff of your universe, everything you see around you, everything you can touch, everything that seems so real to your hands and eyes, all of it is really composed of thought patterns in the emotion streams of the gods. I hope my use of that word gods does not offend. We all exist in the mind of Prime Source, that which you earth beings usually call God. As do these lesser gods I speak of. They are simply very high vibrational intelligences tasked with the job of creating the infinite number of realities that exist. But to return to the discussion, perhaps you will understand why I would contend that emotion is arguably the most powerful of all tools. They say that seeing is believing, but it's even more true that feeling is knowing. When you feel something to be so, then it's true for you. And whatever is true for you is manifest for you. It's brought into your reality for you. Friends, your emotions are powerful tools. So why do most people not know this? Why do most people think emotions are just useless feelings that arise inside their being? Why do many even think that emotions are troublesome, counterproductive things that need to be conquered and silenced? The answer is quite simple. In order to be incarnated into the 3rd density of this reality, as you and everyone else on planet Earth has done, you have needed to become entirely disconnected from your own creator nature. You have needed to forget entirely that you have any connection to the divine within yourself at all. Or you have needed to arise from the matrix of the collective unconscious without such knowing. That is what it means to be born into the third density. It means you do not know that you are truly a creator being. It means that you are born into the belief that you are a victim, that you are just a mortal, little human being with no power, no inherent divine nature. In such a state, you will obviously not use your emotions in a purposeful and directed manner to transform yourself and your environment in ways that bring you greater peace, love, and joy. You will not even know that your emotions can be used in this fashion. And you most certainly will not know that you can master your emotions, that they are tools for your use. And so you will see exactly what you do see all around you, people allowing their emotions to run amok, pushing and pulling them hither and thither, creating a bizarre mix of all kinds of things that they do want and that they don't want. And since they are not aware of what they are doing, they do not even notice how their emotions are working like magic. And since they are third density beings, there is a large gap between cause and effect. As you raise your consciousness into the higher densities of consciousness, this gap shrinks until eventually, as an eighth density being, such as the godlike beings to whom I previously referred, creation is instantaneous. As you feel it, so it is. But for third density beings, there is this long gap. Depending on the details of the creation, the gap might stretch to many years, or even many lifetimes. You shrink that gap by raising your consciousness. And one of the most powerful ways of raising your consciousness out of third density victimhood is to become aware of your own creator nature, which is exactly what you are doing by enacting the 6 sacred steps. So, not only are you creating your desired outcome, you are also raising your frequency and becoming a more powerful creator. Continue on this path and soon you will find yourself awakening to true unity consciousness, which begins at 6th density consciousness. And when you find yourself there, you will be ready for even more powerful tools than the 6 sacred steps. Zingdad is working with his entire guidance team to bring forth material about these more powerful, more advanced tools called the Tools of Creation. When ready for publication, it will be released as the final component of his Dreamer Awake series. But for now, and especially for those not yet of 6th density consciousness, we will be taking the 5th of the 6 sacred steps together. We will be using our emotions to empower our creations. So, now that you have a little background into the power and the importance of the creative tool emotion, you might well be wondering how to go about setting this tool to use. The process is really startlingly simple, or rather it is simple to describe, less simple to implement if you have not yet mastered your emotions. And I will be addressing that aspect as well. Life in duality has taught you that joy is something that happens to you after something happy comes your way. And sadness is what happens to you after something sad occurs in your life. This is as it is for those who are victims to their experiences and also victims to their emotions. This is what happens when you take no ownership or control of your life or your emotions. But you are reading or listening to this very material now because you have decided that it's time to cease randomly and mindlessly stumbling into experiences and experiencing the emotional effects of those experiences. You have decided to take possession of your life, to begin to craft your life and consciously create your experiences. Why else would you be entertaining the 6 sacred steps if not for this? And so you are ready to understand that for creator beings, emotions work the other way around. A creator being holds the emotion, let's say joy as an example, holds the emotion joy in his heart. And then experiences and events that are congruent with that feeling begin to arise. If you begin with joy in your heart, happy things will come to you. Of course, that is an oversimplification of the situation, but it's nonetheless the truth of it. And the converse is also true. If you spend a lot of time creating anxiety, rage, loathing, jealousy, sadness, or any other similar painful emotions, you will also be magnetizing to yourself the external circumstances that accompany the emotions you are creating. Now, this is potentially quite a vast and confusing topic, particularly since there certainly are times when it's healthy and productive to explore your negative and painful emotions, to fully feel them and discover what they are showing you and teaching you. In so doing, you gain greater comprehension and compassion, both for yourself and for others. I'm not suggesting, therefore, that these emotions are bad or that you should avoid them at all costs. There certainly is a time and a place for everything, and every painful emotion has its time and place. What I am saying, friends, is that you can and do choose your emotions. You can and do create them. And if every single time when you are choosing, you choose for anger, for example, then you are consistently choosing to create angry experiences. You might as well be ordering an angry interaction from the universal delivery system. And then you will get that experience, which will make you angry. Job done, the universe delivered. This will cause you to feel justified in your anger, and so you will spend more time creating anger, and before you know it, a vicious cycle has begun and you are fast on your way to becoming an exhausted, worn-out, angry, lonely old misery. You can substitute any emotion for anger in the example above, except, of course, if you choose to create with a positive emotion, then the end result will be a healthy, happy, loved, radiant being. Now, before we move on from this area of discussion, I wish to say this about arising emotions. If you feel an emotion, there is always a reason for it. It has a cause. The cause is you, of course, your choices or your beliefs. Now, third density beings are likely to disagree with this statement. They're likely to say, no, it's other people and external circumstances that make me feel the emotions I feel. And to them it really appears this way. As you spiritually awaken, you, however, begin to discover that this is not so. Your emotions are created entirely by you as a response to the situations that you have brought to yourself with your emotions. It's a cycle, you see, and it starts, not ends, with your emotions. And this is a very good thing, because while it can be very difficult indeed to change the things you find outside of yourself, you can always change your emotions. You might disagree. You might think you cannot choose your emotions, but all that means is that you simply haven't learned how. If you wish to learn how to self-emote, then you may wish to explore Zingdad's publication, Create Yourself, Create Your Life, as it deals with exactly this topic in a wonderfully practical, hands-on fashion. But now, finally, I feel you have sufficient information to begin choosing the emotions with which you will be creating. The very best way to do this is to go back to the previous step, visualization. Since you are preparing for the next step, you really should by now have visualized your desired outcome a good few times. You should be quite familiar with the experience of, in your mind's eye, gaining your desired outcome. If you are, it should be relatively easy for you to now, once again, visualize your desired intention coming to fruition. The only difference is that this time, you will also be carefully watching your emotions as you create this wonderful outcome in your imagination. As you engage in the visualization process, ask yourself repeatedly, how does this feel to me? What is the emotion associated with this outcome? You should arise from the visualization exercise with a very clear idea of exactly which emotions are married to your desired outcome. those emotions could be very primary and clear, such as pure joy or pure love. Or they could be very complex and subtly nuanced, such as the feeling of justice or the feeling of clarity, and so on. My invitation to you is to not get too pedantic about this. It doesn't matter if no one else in the world would consider what you are feeling to be an emotion. This is not about being linguistically correct in describing your emotion to yourself either. This is simply about finding the right tool for the job. And if you are able to identify an emotional response and label it in a way that's meaningful to you, then you've done just that. Bear in mind also that you might have a number of emotions that together speak to the way you feel when your desired outcome comes to fruition. You might, for example, say, I feel peace, release, joy, and love. This can easily be so, since your intention might mean many things to you emotionally. So do be sure to carefully catalog your emotional response or responses during your visualization exercise. At the end of the exercise, you should have a named emotion, or a short list of named emotions. These are the feelings of sweet success that you will feel when your intention is made manifest. And these feelings are the engine that will drive the creation that you desire. But in order to get there, of course, you will have to make them work a little, which we shall talk about next. Using your emotions productively as a tool of reality creation can take a little getting used to. The first step is to choose the correct emotion. It's like selecting a shade of paint for a room. You need to find the right one. The more carefully you choose, the happier you will be with the outcome when it's done. The choosing process has just been described. It occurs with your careful awareness during visualization. So let's move on to the next step. The next step is opening your day. When you awake each morning, start, before you even arise from bed, by restating your intention in your mind. Then, briefly visualize some aspect of your intention coming to fruition. Then, feel. What does that feel like? Don't arise from bed until you have the feeling. Now is also a good time to remind yourself of the action step. Can you come up with some baby step thing that you can do today to carry yourself towards your goal? If you can, plan to do it. If you cannot, plan to be open to inspiration during the day for a baby step that you can take. Now get out of bed, carrying the emotion that you have created with you as you take the second step, creating your focus item for the day. It can be anything that you can use to carry the emotion as a reminder. I shall offer you some possible examples to help you to understand what I mean here. You could use an item of jewelry, a pendant, for example, as your day's focus. In which case you would feel the emotion, and with clear intent you will say to yourself, as you hang the pendant round your neck, this pendant carries this emotion for me, and its meaning is my intention. You should use your own words, as in this example from Zingdad. In putting on this quartz crystal, I am imbuing it with the joy and excitement I feel as my intention to courageously and fearlessly express myself comes to fruition. You can use any item you like for this, but for it to work best, it's good to reuse the same item over and over again. You imbue it with more and more power over time. And each time you say those words while feeling that emotion, while placing the pendant around your neck, you are taking the second step, creating and charging your focus item, which is also sometimes called a talisman. And of course, the focus item could be any item of jewelry. It could even be an item of clothing, or possibly even just a mark drawn on the inside of your wrist, or anything that works for you. And then, at any random time in the day, when you notice the talisman, you can stop for the third step, which becomes your chance recharge moment. These random moments are your opportunity to interrupt what you're doing, and even just for a moment, remember your intention, so restate it to yourself, and then find and feel the associated emotion once again, before going back to what you were doing. The fourth step is quite important. It occurs whenever you find negative, counterproductive thoughts or emotions arising in your heart or mind. If, as is my contention, we are able to create our reality with our thoughts and emotions, then self-sabotaging, negative, fearful, doubting thoughts and emotions will obviously work against that which you are trying to create. So when such a negative thought or emotion arises, this is the time for the fourth step: conscious thought and emotion interrupt and replacement. The moment you notice such negative thoughts and emotions, immediately reach for your talisman. While looking at or holding your talisman, repeat your mantra. Find and feel the emotion. Then, when you have that, you can see if there is still some remnant of the previous negative thought or emotion. There might be. If there is something that wants to be heard or looked at. Make a note. This could be something big, hidden deep in your psyche. Or it could just be a small niggle, something that needs to be understood before moving on. You may be able to work it all out yourself with a few minutes' thought, or it may be the very kernel of your shadow revealing itself to you. It's beyond the ambit of this discussion on emotion to deal with this issue in anything more than a cursory way. The point is, when you are working with your emotions, you will notice anomalous things cropping up. You will be seeing hidden parts of your psyche in action. And one of the parts of your psyche that will certainly show itself as you attempt to recreate your life is your shadow. You should be able to work around your shadow for a while, but please do take note. You will need to integrate your shadow before you'll be able to fully ascend your consciousness and leave separation. And for so long as you have an unintegrated shadow, it will, to one extent or another, limit the efficacy of your creations, or outright sabotage them. If it's time to address your shadow, then you might consider finding a healer well versed in shadow work. Failing that, I can certainly strongly recommend the second module of Zingdad's Dreamer Awake multimedia seminar series. The second module is called Shining the Light on Shadow and was created specifically to teach you to understand and heal your own shadow. The fifth and final step, closing the day, occurs when you are once again in bed at the end of the day. Take a moment. Look back on your day. What action did you take today that took you towards your desired outcome? No matter how small, note it and thank yourself for taking it. If you took no action at all today, think about that. Why not? And how will you do differently tomorrow? Remember, every day, one little baby step, and you will be on your way. Also, how many chance recharge moments did you have in which you stopped what you were doing to realign yourself with your intended soul's journey? Thank yourself for all of those times. How many times did you consciously interrupt and replace negative thoughts or emotions? Notice if you are getting quicker at catching yourself before replacing those thoughts and emotions. Notice if the negative thoughts and emotions are becoming fewer. Thank yourself sincerely and gratefully for this work that you did today. And now finally, close the fifth step by finding and feeling the emotion again. This time, add to the feeling, knowing that you are one whole day's spiritual work closer to really getting your desired outcome. So feel it again. Feel that your desired outcome is coming towards you now. It is so that those 5 steps really are the steps of creation. But there is a 6th step that must be taken. Without this final step, the creation will not be complete. And in discussing it, I will also address a number of very important ancillary points that will bring our discussion of the 6 sacred steps to a close. If you would like to be updated when Zingdad and I release this final step, and indeed any of the new material that will follow that publication, you're invited to subscribe to our free newsletter. Until next time then, dear friends, I am Adamu of the monadic entity of the Pleiadian civilization, and I have been brought through to you by my dear friend Zingdad. Until next time, I wish you joy, I wish you peace, and I wish you love. Goodbye.